Hey everybody, and happy Black Music Month, and welcome to the inaugural Black Women Music Creative Summit. I'm your host, Chrissy, and today we have an incredible panel of music creatives to drop some gems about how we move through the industry. Off the top, I want to thank Live Nation Urban for their continued support. For the last 3 years, BWP and LNU have partnered to hire dozens of Black and African women creatives across the country for concerts, festivals, and tours. We'll be announcing some exciting new opportunities at the end of Black Music Month, so please stay tuned on our socials for all the things. All right, now that we've got that part, I want to introduce y'all to everyone. Please, can you guys start off with maybe giving folks your name, what you do, and where you're based? Oh, and Letitia made it. Hey, Letitia.
Hi, hi.
Hey, Letitia, welcome. It's okay. We just started off. So I just want to give folks an intro of who we have here on our panel today. So just letting everybody know, can you give folks your name, what you do, and where you're based?
So my name is Robin or Latishamariee, as most people may know me by. I'm a concert and overall creative photographer, and I'm based in Atlanta. I'm actually on tour right now, so as you see, I'm in a hotel. About to go to the venue, but excited to be able to speak with you guys. And drop some wisdom to everybody.
Yay. Onome, you want to go next?
Yes. Hey everyone. My name is Onome. I use they, them pronouns. I'm a cinematic photographer and director based in San Francisco, and I'm excited to share a little bit of my journey into music photography.
Beautiful.
Hello, my name is Alicia. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm based out of Port St. Lucie, Florida, which is like close to West Palm Beach, and I'm a concert and event photographer.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you for the context, just so everybody knows what context you have coming into some of these questions. So I have questions. We have questions from the community, the guests in the chat, and people like that. So whatever applies to you, feel free to answer. If you don't know, you could say you don't know, and maybe somebody else could pick it up. This is all a part of the learning journey as we all are moving through our creative endeavors as photographers and etc. So off the top, I want to know, how'd you guys get your start? Do you remember the first show you photographed? Is that how you got your way in? Whoever wants to take it first.
I can go ahead.
Okay.
The first time I got into music photography was actually when I snuck a camera into a show in LA. I'm
There we
originally from San Bernardino. So I would go to LA a lot to see concerts and stuff. So I snuck a camera in a really big purse bag and I like hid my jacket and stuff on top of it. And then during the show, I would like bring it out and start shooting. And that's what kind of got me my start into it. I had my first camera. I've been a Canon girly ever since I've had a camera. Had my first Canon camera and I used that at the show. And then when I moved to San Francisco about 6 years ago, I started inquiring about how could I like start shooting at venues in an official capacity, getting my
go.
first photo pass and stuff. Literally just Googled publications based in SF and was able to find an outlet, and I've been shooting ever since.
There we go. Google is our friend. Don't forget to research, y'all. Come on. Wait, what was the concert you went to? The first one.
Oh, it was the first one I went to was King Princess, but I was really there for
Oh,
the
okay.
opener. The opener's name is Donna Missile. She's one of my favorite artists, and I was like, I'm there for her. So I'm just like trying to get the shots that I can and just practice. And it was very fun. First time to do that. So
Yeah. How about you, Alicia?
My first concert was, oh my gosh, I forgot the artist's name, but it was like a local venue in Stewart, which is close to Port St. Lucie.
Mhm.
I think, oh, Trey Pierce and the T-Stones. That's who I photographed.
Okay.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, finally
We
got
should
the name.
start a
Sorry.
playlist of all the artists. Like we ended up shooting. We need to have a BWP playlist.
Right, right, right.
That
So
would be
yeah, I
fire.
shot Trey Pierce and the T-Stones, And like I said, I Googled like local venues around here,
Mhm.
finally got in touch with somebody, and I able to shoot, Trey Pearson, Batista.
Okay,
So
so your
yeah.
first, like the way you got into concert photography, you went straight to the source. You didn't sneak in a
Yes.
camera or
No,
okay.
no, I try to do everything right because I was like, too afraid to like sneak anything in because I always get caught. So I'm not really good at hiding things.
You gotta know yourself, for real.
And then, I'll be looking to the side like, I hope they don't catch me. I hope they don't catch me. Like, I'll be looking guilty. And then they'll be like, oh, hey, you see your bag. Like, so I don't even want to try to risk that. So,
Okay, how about you, Letitia? How did you start?
So I got my start at North Carolina A&T State University. Craziest story. I originally was in marching band and I tore my ACL.
mm,
So within that, I was on scholarship and they were like, "We'll let you keep your money, but you gotta, find something to do." So I really actually liked taking photos, and at that point, I was just taking pictures on my phone. But they were like really good because if you have the eye for it, you're still gonna capture a really good photo. So from there, of course, the following year happened, and I actually couldn't shoot or I couldn't march anymore because my ACL was too bad and I was on the drum line. And as we all know, it's a lot of movement.
Yeah.
So I was like, I actually really, really like taking photos. So I ended up buying a camera and joining the yearbook. And my first assignment was G-Ho concert. So if nobody knows, Greatest Homecoming on Earth is at North Carolina A&T State University.
Oh, talk
Um,
about it. Yeah.
and so my first assignment was our G-Ho concert, and it was Young Thug, Lucci, Party Next Door, and Migos. And Migos
dang, that's
actually
a
offered
lineup.
me, boy, wasn't it? Migos actually offered me a job that day, and I didn't take it because I still was on scholarship from a different part or different money that I had from the school. So I was like, nah, I don't want to lose the money. And, gratefully it all worked out. But that was like my very first concert.
So at that point, are you still shooting on your iPhone or do you have a camera now?
At that point, I had the Nikon D50-100.
Okay, copy. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I think I had that camera too. I think that was one of my first
Really?
cameras. Yeah.
That I love that camera. I really had some amazing moments with it. So,
Honestly, held me down too.
mm, got
Okay,
that
so
nifty 50?
always gonna get it done. I love a nifty
Yeah.
50 and I'm a 35 millimeter prime kind of guy.
Yeah.
No.
Hmm.
But I'm curious, all of you kind of have this way of like you just jumped in a way. How are you guys getting jobs as a concert photographer with little to no portfolio?
Um, so I guess my story is a little different. So after graduating from A&T, I ended up teaching. But within being a teacher and whatever, I'm still a lover of music. So I would go to concerts. And I guess my full jump into the industry was after I graduated, I went to the baby concert. And I went with the mindset of I want to shoot for the baby. Not only did we're both from Charlotte, he actually grew up in my neighborhood, and like him and my brother were like really close friends. So I'm at the show, and I'm like, I'm gonna figure out a way to get backstage. I'm gonna talk to Rico because if anybody knows Real Goats, Rico is the creator, founder of it, and I need to be able to talk to him so I can be able to shoot for the baby. So waited at the venue until the very last moment, and they pretty much kicked me out. And I'm walking back to my car and God just told me to look up. And I looked up and Real Goats were standing up on a hill waiting for their Uber. And I was just like, all right, I'm about to go over here and just, do what I do. So I went up there and I was just like, hi, I'm Letitia. I'm a photographer. And I was showing them my page. And as we all know, they're like, oh, yeah, just hit us, DM us. And, we'll hit you back. And as we all know, sometimes, sometimes they'll hit you back. Sometimes they don't. They didn't. But Rico had posted something that next day that he needed, and I knew I didn't have it, but I knew I could get it, and I was like, "Hey, I can get this to you by this time." I pulled up, and then we had this long conversation, and honestly, we locked in from there, and it just like kind of all worked out for
Okay.
me.
I like how that aligned just then, where it's like you tried the first way, like plan A. I'm gonna just wait at
Mm-hmm.
the concert, try to finagle it, and then
Mm-hmm.
that don't work out. And potentially you could have thought that of that as a fail, but right there
Hmm.
where your opportunity just like arose for you,
Opened.
right? Like
Hmm.
that's so beautiful. Now, I'm
Yeah.
really curious about your way in, Alicia, because you said you just were hitting up all these publications and somebody told you yes, but I'm assuming at that time you didn't have a concert photography portfolio yet. Is that true?
That is true. Yes.
So how did that work for you? How does that unfold?
Oh yeah, before I dived into concert, like I was doing events, like I was doing parties,
Oh, okay.
like baby showers, all that stuff. So I use that as my portfolio to get into uh the publication that I'm in currently now. So
Did
like
you
yeah.
try to specify certain events on your portfolio that you thought would like help for this? I'm asking just because I'm thinking about the the level of career is really vast in the BWP community. We have people that are hobbyists, people that are just like, oh, this is a new idea and I don't know where to start, all the way to people that have been professionals for years. So I'm thinking about people at different stages of where they are, like, oh, I don't have any background in music, but I do shoot events. Like, how should I form my portfolio or something like that?
Mhm. Yeah, because when I did events, it started off as like a hobbyist for sure, I'm not gonna lie. Because I like, taking pictures, with my family,
Yeah.
friends. So I was always the one like with the camera in my hand or the phone in my hand to take pictures. And so I just started to translate that into providing photography services for people who wanted pictures for birthday parties, baby showers, like portraits, and etc. So,
Can I help add on to that?
Yeah,
mhm.
please.
Um, I'll say a major way or something that, because I work directly with Live Nation Urban for all of their festivals, a major thing they look at is the way that you capture people. So, yes,
I was
we
about
care
to
about
get
the
into that.
artists. Hmm. It's like, yes, they care about the artist photos and all of that's great, but everybody wants to take those photos. Can you capture people at this festival having the time of their life? And will that transcend into dollars? That is
Mhm.
what these companies really care about. So
Yeah, because I
if you're
really,
at these, go ahead.
sorry, because I
No,
really
you're
love
fine.
taking candid photos of people. So yeah,
Mhm.
that was probably what got me into like the concert photography. Where people see my portfolio, like, oh, he wants you. Because I
That's
like when people have loving gazes or people that you haven't seen in a while. That one hug after like God knows how
Hmm.
many years.
right.
And
So
you
yeah,
just feel the
that's
energy of it.
right,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point too, just to think about your natural eye, one, and making that into the theme. It seems like you were already attracted to that, and that
Hmm.
can translate into concert or other types of music photography. Okay, beautiful. So let's jump ahead a little bit in terms of where we are in our careers. And I'm wondering, how do you get the access to these music events or festivals, concerts, stuff like that? Who are the people that you're looking for, that you're reaching out to, that you're talking to? So a little more direct, not just like publication, but like I'm looking for this person at the publication, this person on the production team, XYZ.
I can speak just a little bit towards that. So, in my experience, I have really just been like, usually I just reach out to like an artist I really like. I'll just reach out to them on Instagram. Be like, hey, do you need a photographer? I'm really interested in photographing your show. Please let me know who I need to contact to make sure, I can be on the list and be able to capture the show. So, just in my experience, it's been, through publications, but then also just having connections with the artists directly. Just saying, I just my basis is just like, I really enjoy your music. I came to the show this one other time, and I just would really love the opportunity just to capture the energy and capture your performance. So that's like the kind of way that I've been going through. Um, I recently did get like my one of my first paid gigs to photograph a concert recently, but that was through a like an app that was it's for photographers and different people in the music industry and videos and stuff like that. So was able to like apply for that. And then I got contacted for that show. So that was one of my experiences of getting, a paid gig through that. So for me right now, it's just been like reaching out either on my own to the artist directly through a publication or, finding it on like job posting boards.
Okay, tight. What types of people are you guys reaching out to? Or who are you
Um,
guys reaching out to if you don't reach out anymore?
so I still reach out because, hey, you never know when you have like a cold moment. This whole thing is a roller coaster, honestly. So a lot of times I do reach out to the artist. My biggest growth in my career once I moved to Atlanta, was by reaching out to an artist literally 3 days after I moved. If you're familiar with the artist division, I had reached out. It was like 2 in the morning, and he had posted a party flyer, and I was like, "Hey, do you need a photographer?" And he was like, "Yeah." So I pulled up, I shot, I got the photos back to him by 4 a.m., and he was like, "You have a job," and I was like, "Whoa." So that ended up putting me in the position to shoot his album process, which was being done with Jermaine Dupri. And the legend that he is literally opened the doors for me to be able to shoot a lot of things that I do now. But also outside of that, in the non-music world, I'll also reach out, well, still in the music world, I'll reach out to producers, I'll reach out to the DJs. Honestly, even when you're at the shows, take pictures of people within the entourage because those are the people that are also in the artist's ear, and they'll be like, "Hey, look at these photos that this person took of them or took of me," and then now they're like, "Oh, these are hard," and they'll reach out to you, reach out to management. You just want to always reach out, but you don't always want to make it about money either. So get your foot in the door first and show them that you're capable of doing what they want or what they need. And then, hey, start to say, hey, I can offer you this package for this. And also, licensing is a huge thing in the music industry, even with your photos. So, granted, you took these photos of them, you own them. They do not own the photos just because you gave them to them. So, if you come and shoot the show and now they want to use this photo for an album cover, you can charge for that. You shot the show for free, but you still ended up making money in the back end of it because they will have the label reach out to you for that. I'm sorry, I just got totally off track from what the question was.
That's okay.
Um, but yeah, honestly, you can reach out to almost anybody that's connected to the artist, and it'll come back to make it short.
Okay. Does anybody here work with companies rather than the artists more often than with a direct artist? I'm thinking like maybe you work for Coachella, Lala, other music festivals, like stuff like that. Like Letitia, how you mentioned you work with Live Nation.
hmm
Do y'all also have that experience?
I
Um,
unfortunately do not.
Yeah, for me, I've recently been able to be like a house photographer for some of the venues here. So that's working with like directly another music entertainment APE that puts on a lot of the concerts here and in the Bay also. In LA, they do Coachella as well and stuff like that. I think out here, Outside Lands, sorry, they do Outside Lands out here. So it's been like those are still not like paying opportunities. Like Letitia mentioned, like when you first start out, you can't come in expecting to be paid, You need to come in, you're learning on the job as well. You gotta like kind of pay your dues, I guess. But it's like you're taking those opportunities, even though they're free opportunities, you're learning to, later market yourself in the future to say, I can do this. As Letitia was saying, you can do all these things later. Um, but yeah, it's like yeah, just for myself, it's just been just kind of getting my name out there and like taking photos where I can and then making the connections where they come up and the opportunities arise.
Yeah. Clearly having like these personal relationships, whether that is with a venue, a festival, or the artists themselves, is very, very important. Can you tell us how y'all begin to cultivate that? So, like, say you did the reach out, they say yes, and you do the job. How are you maintaining that relationship? Like, what are things people can do or say to make sure like they continue this relationship and it can turn into something else?
I do check-ins. So even if it's not about work, I like to check in, see how they're doing, and even build on it from a mentorship perspective, especially if it's like a more seasoned artist. Um, because a lot of times people just reach out to them within just wanting things. And yeah, everybody wants to be able to, everybody wants to come shoot the shows. So a lot of times when you truly build that relationship, they remember you a lot more. Um, so yeah.
Okay, cool. Y'all have ways y'all try to cultivate relationships with these venues and festivals and things?
Yeah, I guess just again for me, it's been kind of like the way that I found other opportunities as well is just like through some of the other photographers I know here in the area. Sometimes they would mention me to other musicians, and then, only not only within music photography, I do a lot of film photography as well. So I'm in connection with like different folks in the photography world. So just seeing what opportunities come by and then other people I'm able to connect with, that kind of just broadens my horizons a little bit more than just, sticking to music, even though that's like the starting point. But being able to make those relationships with like someone in the film community can come back to another opportunity that was like unexpected, in music. So it's just like, I feel like it all kind of plays a role with each other, just making sure you're in tune with your photo community in your city and making those connections from there.
Yeah. Okay, so boom, we're pitching ourselves, we're cultivating relationships, we're building our portfolios, and like we're getting jobs. That's the part of the era we're in our career right now, in our imagination, right? So boom, we're fast forwarding a little bit. Um, how do we know how many photos we should send for a gig? What's right?
Um,
Is there a
so
magic number?
yeah, I was gonna say there is no magic number, but well, correction. There's shot list. So I'll say when you're hired directly from the like festival side, they give you a shot list. These are the things that we're looking for. They actually give you the amount of images. So sometimes, hey, we only need 15 images, which is crazy. You shot 5,000 photos that day. We only are paying this amount that we're paying you, and I'm going to give it X amount. It's whatever your number is. These 15 are the only things that you're truly responsible for. You can edit as many as you want. And that's actually where that relationship comes in. So
Mm.
you'll have people that come in and, oh, you're paying me $1,000 for 15 photos. I'm only giving you 15 photos. Or I know I own these photos. I'll still share this with you. And because these companies also know the contract was only signed for X photos, hey, we'll reach back out. We need these photos. Can we use this for this? And now your name is in publications and it grows out. So yeah, that's that's how I go about it. I may send anywhere from 100 to 500 photos, depending on the festival and the type, and how much I enjoyed it because like we're in an industry where our jobs are fun.
Yeah.
If you're not enjoying it, then what are you here for? That's kind of how I look at it.
How about you, Alicia? Do you have something that you like a protocol you go by?
Yeah, I usually give like 50 because I don't do contracts. I'm through like a publication. So whatever, you know, they ask of me, that's what I do. So so yeah, I probably need to start doing contracts. So
Yeah, absolutely. Also, I'm curious, back to pitching real quick. I think it would be super valuable to add what maybe are some common mistakes that people make when pitching themselves so folks know how to adjust.
yeah,
Hmm.
when they're pitching themselves, they sound like ingenuine for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, try to sound as genuine as possible in your pitch.
Yeah, yeah. Try to sound genuine as possible on your pitch.
Do y'all
Yeah,
add your rates in your initial pitch?
I don't.
Yeah. For me, I would just say like initially I kind of like I have like a template that I use, not always like the same language, but just to make sure like what I'm sending out is kind of like I have the standard language. I kind of just like introduce myself, kind of plug like I do this type of photography, plug in my website, my Instagram, and then like if they are intrigued, then I'll say if you want to inquire more, I'm happy to send like a portfolio of my images and like also just like the rates as well. Just like the initial emails just like to gain their interest or like kind of gauge like would you be interested in working together? This is like some samples of my images. If so, then I would like to discuss more, talk grades, and go from there.
Okay, beautiful. I think that's perfect to let folks know how to formulate their pitches so that they can continue to get more and more jobs. Okay, so boom, I want to talk a little bit about some technical and gear related things. Like I mentioned earlier, lots of these questions are from our community because we want to provide the answers to your specific questions. So feel free to give as much context as y'all like to any of these questions. Off the top, one thing that I always say about being a photographer is everybody's always like, oh my God, what camera you use? What camera you use? And I think that's a lame question. I think it's lame because they think the camera is doing all the work. And really, if you have the eye for it, you can make chick shape with no matter what you got. But on the opposite end, I do appreciate the tools and the gear I have, and I know all of us do. So just to set the tone, what's y'all's go-to setup? What are you bringing to a live concert shoot?
So for my normal concerts, I'll have my Nikon Z8, and then I'll have my Nikon Z6 II. I'll have my 24-70, my Godox V1, 70 to 200, and Nikon 100 to 300.
I love that Godox. I also get the V1.
Oh yeah.
That,
Mm-hmm. Very
that
crisp.
flash work hard. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she done had her day.
Onome, how about you?
Yeah, so my go-to setup right now, I have the Canon R6 II, and then I also have the 24 to 105 f2.8 lens. I got that last year. Before that, I was borrowing a coworker's lenses, like since 2019. I had like his 24 to 70 and then 70 to 200. So I had that all throughout the pandemic. And then last year he asked for them back, but those were like my go-to lenses for my camera for the longest time. So I was able to get my own lens, that 24 to 105. And that's like, for me, that's like the perfect lens I need for like any situation when I'm like close up in the photo pit. Like I feel like that lens in that range is like everything I need. I'm actually photographing a concert at Levi Stadium this weekend, and I rented this 500 millimeter lens. It is humongous. I thought this was like it looked like a small weapon. I was like, this is so
Mm-hmm.
big to use, but yeah, that's my first time like photographing in a big giant stadium like that, and I know the lens that I have will not suffice. So, um, yeah, I think in the future, like this, Letitia said, to get like a 100, 300, just have something that's a nice like super telephoto in that range for festivals and stuff like that. That's like a great range lens to have in the bag. So
True, true, true. Love that. Also, love the note just about relying on your community in that way. I've borrowed friends' lenses and cameras. They've borrowed me lenses and cameras or other gear. Please always, I always talk about this so much. It's important for us to rely on each other. Just because I can't get my little 70 to 200 right now, don't mean like this job that I'm borrowing your lens for could help me get my own lens. So I appreciate the note on that. How about
yeah.
you? What's your go-to setup?
Currently, I'm using the Sony A7 Mark II with the nifty 50 and an 85 millimeter and a 70 to 200 millimeter.
I love an 85.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah,
gorgeous.
I just recently got that. And when I tell you, I was like, where have I been without this? Like,
Yes.
but yeah.
Okay, so the big question from almost everybody was about low light situations. Lots of concerts, most in fact, are low light. So I'm very curious, what lens would you say is like your go-to for some fast moving subjects, low light scenarios that are gonna like guarantee you get the shot?
I actually switch bodies and lenses. So the reason I shoot with both the Z8 and the Z6 II is because they have different megapixels. So the Z8 has, I believe, 48 megapixels, and the Z6 II has 24. The lower megapixel allows a cleaner photo when you're shooting in low light situations. So I'll shoot heavier on that. And still, because that camera has better low light capability, I'm able to use any of my lenses. But if it's like a show, if anybody's been to like Bryson Tiller show, super dark. It's like, what's happening? Um, any 1.2 or 1.4 lens will be like my go-to. So I have like a 35 1.2, and then I have my, of course, nifty 50 that I'll bring if it gets that treacherous.
Okay. Because it do be
Yeah, yeah.
treacherous.
Because I rely on my
Mhm.
Nifty 50 so much. So yeah, my Nifty 50 that gets the job done every time for me.
Okay.
Yeah, and my lens, like I said, is that 24 to 105, that's like the only lens I have, but it's f 2.8, but I think in usually the shows that I'm shooting at, it gets pretty good. It works great in low light situations. I do have a little nifty 50 as well because those have, the higher aperture to go to 1.4, 1.7. But yeah, I just have that 24 to 105 is my go-to for everything.
Don't be afraid of noise reduction in Lightroom. And low,
Also,
you can raise your ISO. Don't be afraid.
honestly, I'm glad you said that because my next question was going to be about like how you do settings. So, can we touch on both? I guess technically this is something like pre-production and then post-production. So, what settings do y'all rely on for those low light situations? And then in post-production, are you doing something like noise reduction or anything else to help alleviate, the stress of shooting in low light sometimes?
Well, I personally don't like to touch my shutter speed too much during shows unless I'm doing like an effect. So even if there's a low light situation, I try not to go any lower than a 125, 160. And I try, if it's a normal lighting, great lighting situation, I try to stay in my 250 to 320. Um, so me personally, I try not to make too many pre-production changes because I'll notice the quality of the photo changes, and I want to keep my photos as sharp as possible. So I'll do a lot more in post-production a lot of times.
Mhm.
Are either of y'all like, do y'all preset your settings for shows or are you just moving on the go, knowing your camera kind of thing?
I've been moving on the go.
As presetting, you mean like our settings in camera, or can you explain a little bit more?
Yeah, I guess I assumed
Like a
everybody,
base setting that we start with.
right? You know how you can
Yeah.
like save presets on your camera,
Mm-hmm.
different settings in different scenarios. So I'm just curious if like y'all are those type of
Oh,
people
okay, okay.
or you just like,
Oh no, on the go, on the go.
Yeah. Yeah, I just leave like shoot in raw and that's it basically. Do the
Yeah.
edits later.
cool. Alicia, any specific things you do for the pre and post production in terms of settings and editing?
Yeah, like Miss Letitia said, like I don't do like much pre settings either. I'm like more post
Mhm.
production as well. So
What
yeah.
kind of things do you do in post production to help keep your images clear? Like, do you have certain settings or adjustments that you rely on typically?
Oh yes, I have a couple of settings on Lightroom, and also the noise reduction helps a lot some of the times.
Do you have any staples, Onome?
Yeah, I was actually like so most of my photos I'm doing post editing. But a little bit of my background, I used to make GIFs on Tumblr like way back in the day. Um oh,
Oh no, you froze, Onome. Can y'all still see Onome or no? Okay, we'll come back to Onome. It's okay. Um, but don't forget it, Onome, if you can hear us, because we want to get your tip for sure. Okay, moving on down. Letitia, we did get some touring questions. So, oh wait, Anome's back.
Oh no, I'm so sorry, y'all.
Oh,
Okay, no, not a big deal at all. Do you remember the
Um,
give us?
yes, about my editing process. So none of what I said was heard, right? I'm
No,
guessing.
it
Okay.
froze immediately.
So yeah, I was saying, back in the day, I used to make GIFs back on Tumblr. So I really well aware and well versed in like Adobe Photoshop and color correction. So learning from that, like back in the day, now when I edit my photos, I use Lightroom to edit my pics. So now I kind of have like a process that I go through. I do like base color corrections. And then once I get the photo looking how like I saw it in real life, like making sure those colors look how saw it in real life, then I'll just go back and make like my simple edits, adjusting the highlights and like any vibrancy and color fixing there. But usually it's just like a nice process that I follow to make sure like I'm making sure my style and how I would like my photos to be perceived or seen in those photos at the end as well. So it's all just mostly like capturing pre-production, capturing raw photos, keeping it in 160 to 125. And my ISO, I usually keep it at like 16 to 250, maybe 320 if I need to do that. And then everything is like mostly post. So yeah.
Wow. Oh yeah. I think that's a good question too. Like how high have y'all gotten and actually used the photos in terms of ISO? Like y'all shooting at
yeah.
3200? What's going
Yeah,
on?
mine was
Night
like 6,400. Yeah,
Ooh.
one time. Yeah.
last night I went up to 128
Oh, wow.
and I
Okay.
used it. Shout out to that noise reduction.
And we talk about those moments when we're using 64 and 128. How are you maintaining the clarity? Are you doing certain like editing in terms of, like filters or different styles to still make it look interesting and cool? Like how do y'all maintain the grain and still get what you're looking
Mhm. I'll say my approach to photography or to concert photography and the overall is a more artsy approach than the like clean publication. Like my work goes to publications, but it's more on the creative side.
for? Okay.
So a lot of my photos, I'm already kind of like tweaking a little bit more than the eye would normally see in the show. So when I'm editing those photos, sometimes post production happens twice. So I'll edit on my laptop, and I don't know if this happens to anybody else, but I'll send it to my phone, and it looks nothing like it looked on my
Mm,
like I'll have to edit again on my phone just to get it to exactly what I want it to look like. So sometimes it takes multiple tweaks. I may go to sleep, wake up. Yeah.
yeah.
With those type of photos, yeah. Because you still want it to be seen in its best light.
Hmm.
Yeah, exactly. I've also I've done some screen calibrations. I'll send you the brand because I don't remember the name off top. But that's
Mm.
helped in those transitions. The thing about it though, like you got to do it maybe like once a year or something like that, to just keep it together. But it has helped. So if you want, I can send that to you later.
Please. And then I think I also need to get a new phone too. Sometimes
That's so real too.
that'll be it too. So, but yes, I'll take those.
Alicia, how about you? In those moments where you're shooting at those real high ISOs, are there certain things that you're doing in post to try to keep like a clear image and
Yeah, sometimes I sometimes really embrace like the grainy because I'm more of like an artsy type of person, so I'll sometimes play with it. Like, I'll still throw like more grain. I'll sometimes do it black and white. Like, I'll play around to see if, post-production So yeah.
Speaking of playing around in software, what software are we using? I heard Lightroom. I don't remember who said they are in Lightroom, but is anybody else like in Photoshop, Capture One? What are we using?
I use Lightroom as well. Mm.
Yeah, that's what I use as well. Photoshop sometimes if I want to add like some blur effects and stuff that you can't do in Lightroom, I'll take
Right.
it to Photoshop, but those are like my go-tos.
Lightroom and Photoshop for me.
Okay, cool. A little bit more about gear before we move on to touring and like wrap everything up. Any accessories or tools are you guys using during the live sessions? Like, do y'all use the earplugs? Do y'all have certain belts or harnesses? Like, what can people buy to equip themselves for this type of photography?
I just use my AirPods, and then for me to quickly switch lenses, this Photoshop, but this fanny pack right here, it holds my 100 to 300 lens, which is so shocking. But it's on Amazon and it's only $10. And when I
Oh,
say it's held me down for 3 years, that's
Yeah,
when you can purchase. And
I
I'm
love it.
actually heading to the show right now. So
How it
if I
look
go out,
like.
I'm sorry.
Do you remember the name of the brand?
Um, I can tell you guys in like 2 seconds. I can pull it off of Amazon.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, we'll just like add certain things in the description box probably. How about y'all? What are y'all using while y'all are on set?
Yeah,
I use
I have oh go ahead. Go ahead, Alicia.
I usually use earplugs, and I'm getting up there in age, a hard like 32, so I have knee pads.
Hold on, hold on. Up there at age.
So yeah, I need knee pads because I like to be on the ground, like on the pit, shooting
Oh,
up like that. So yeah, the knee pads help me for sure.
I never thought about that. That's such a good one.
Hmm.
For me,
I
I have a harness. I can carry two cameras, so I usually have my digital camera, and then I have, since I shoot film as well, I have an analog 35 millimeter camera that I'll bring along just to do some shots and like practice in low light with that camera. But yeah, it's like a dual harness, so I have those both on my side. And then backpacks are really important too to carry your gear. I forgot what bag I have, but it's like has a hard shell on the outside, and I can fit like so many accessories into that bag, like the 500 millimeter lens I mentioned. I could fit that bag and the other lens I have, plus the camera. So I was like, wow, this is amazing. It can fit
Right?
everything. And it can also hold a tripod as well or monopod. And then I have earplugs. Earplugs are so important to have at shows nowadays. Don't want to lose your hearing or anything, later in life. So those are usually my go-tos. And then again, when I'm shooting at a show, I have like a lanyard to keep my photo passes. I like keeping those because sometimes the artists have like a particular design. I'm like, oh, gotta have it. It's collectible. So I have
Yeah,
that in my
sound like a collectible too.
bag.
Okay, beautiful. Um, Letitia, I'm also super curious about how you've marketed yourself a bit more since you're from Atlanta, but you get gigs outside of where you're at. Can you
Hmm.
tell us any tips or anything like how you've been able to market yourself and like move around in that way?
Relationships are everything. That's the biggest thing that I can say. Also marketing myself. I was able to get with the blog Spiritual Word, if anybody's familiar. So I'm their lead photographer. And that's actually what granted me the access to shoot Grammys and all of the other really big events because it's one of the bigger blog publications that all of the labels want to work with.
Hmm. Okay, cool. So did you reach out to them when you made that move? Also, I see you on the move right now, so I appreciate you still staying with us.
I got y'all. So you said, did I reach out to them?
Yeah, like how did that relationship form?
So it actually started with that same division Jermaine Dupri situation. They had brought the owner of the blog in, during his album process, and that's when we met. Because he's actually based in Atlanta, and I met him. I'm sorry, the dancers for the tour loud in the back. But that's when I met him there, and then it was also within the growing part of spiritual word. It was right when Glow dropped FNF, like it was literally beginning stages, and I think God just aligned me to meet the people that I met in the time that I did. So that's kind of how it worked out for me. But yeah, your relationships. So also anybody that's on here, if you DM me and say that you were on the call, I'm actually building out my own creative like photography group. So when I'm on tour and people are calling me, I'll be able to send people out to the shows that people are calling me for that I'm not able to do.
That's beautiful. I'm so glad you're taking that initiative. I think it goes into what I was saying earlier about how we rely on our community. Um, it's so important. What I do also, if I can't take a job, whether if it's because I'm gone or I'm just like on a different job at the time, I'm always sending it to somebody else because no matter what, I want these jobs to remain in our community. And if I know my homegirl is capable and potentially available, I'm sending it to her. So I think it's such a great idea to have a group of people you can already rely on and immediately be like, oh, here's the next person, here's the next person, and just send suggestions.
Yeah, like I even had a shoot with Nike um last year. And like that shoot, we got residual checks and everything, but the like very special part about it, it happened through relationships. They reached out to me to actually book the artist for the shoot. And then they were like, actually, we're gonna shoot it in Atlanta. Would you be interested? And they're like, well, we also need video. We need this. We need that. And they made me pretty much the producer of the shoot, and I hired everybody. So the whole team was black, and I loved it, every bit of it, because we just were able to move how we move, and everything turned out so beautiful. So yeah, always targeting your community, guys.
And that's why I love Black women photographers because that's always like our natural thought process. Like every conversation I posted here for the summit, every time I'm talking to somebody, anytime I meet another Black woman photographer just like outside and like we end up talking or something, it's always like, let's immediately connect on some just, I see you. I know like the grind you putting in because I'm putting in that same kind of grind. So let's always like just remember to maintain those relationships. What Issa Rae say? Like, this way and not always that way. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so in order to just like wrap us up a bit, I want to talk a little bit about some challenging times in our career. Maybe Alicia, you could start us off. Um, what's been like the biggest professional learning moment from working in this music industry for you?
Let's see. Basically I need to stop comparing myself to everybody. I need to stop comparing everybody else's journey towards mine. I was struggling with for quite a while.
Come
So
on,
yeah.
self-reflection. Do
But
you
there was a little imposter syndrome too, like so yeah.
So in your process of like comparing yourself to others, what things do you think got in your way, like while you've been working through that?
Uh yeah, basically when I try to request for like shows that I wanted to, shoot and I got rejected. And then a couple hours later I see like, the people, the photographers I follow like at the same venue, like, oh, that could have been me or should have, could have, would have, like, so those types of things that I like struggled with for sure. But I had to remember like this is me. No means not yet. Like my time will come and another opportunity will come my way. I just gotta be patient.
Come on, love to hear it. How about you, Anil?
Yeah, I mean, I've gone through very similar feelings. Like I want to say a year or two ago, I could not connect to photography at all. Like I had to take a step back and just just enjoy my life and like have to warm myself back into it. Because yeah, again, I was like comparing myself to others. Being on social media, that happens. You see other people's work, you're like, oh, I wish I was doing this. I wish I was doing that. Why am I not there yet? and like, why am I not getting paid for this? I should be doing all of this. And like, I've really learned to like play into God's timing. Like, I can hope for something, like I want something now, but you know, if I get a rejection, it's just like Alicia was saying, it's a not yet. It's not a no, definitely. It's just a not yet. That just means I need to go back and like start practicing or start honing in on my skills. And like it's not an opportunity to just like say, oh, like kind of lull and be like, ah, I wish this, I wish that. It's kind of like, okay, I see this as an opportunity to kind of learn something new or take it on or have a new perspective and look at it a different way. Um, just like I feel like I'm always trying to just challenge myself in different ways. A lot of my photography, um, since I do also film photography, I feel that also just feeds into my artistry. So like if I'm not shooting concerts, I'm like, okay, I can't do this, but I do have my film cameras. What can I do? I can look around my neighborhood. I can like start focusing on like, how is the light facing this building or like kind of just going back to fundamentals and like finding a way to kind of pull myself through and say, even though this door closed, there's another door that opens for you that you can, focus on something else for the time being until that opportunity that you wanted comes through. Like I'm so happy to be part of this panel. I would never have expected I would get the chance to speak to anyone or talk about my journey, and being able to do this now with folk. I'm so honored and blessed to do so, and just um, yeah, I mean, finding the silver linings and, out of some um, difficult defeats, something else will come out of that and be uprooted from that. And, you get to learn from there. So, yeah, just being able to trust yourself and, not taking no for an answer. There's always something else that you can work on and improve and get to know yourself better. And yeah, just take that opportunity from there.
I appreciate the reframe. I think just like any other artist, there are ebbs and flows in times where you probably should step away because like you got into that rut of like, I'm not really liking what my work looks like anymore. Like I want to elevate, I want to change something and things like that. And so I really appreciate you calling that out because it helps. We're artists. Like we need to live life in order to also create, and they go hand in hand, at least I think. And then Letitia, just to reiterate the question, it was, what's been your biggest professional learning moment or challenge from working in the music industry?
So kind of adding on to what you just said. Um, for me personally, knowing when to walk away, but also knowing when to rest. So, fun fact, I'm back on tour today. But I was in a car accident on Saturday. um, yeah, so I was in a car accident on Saturday, and on the same day of me being in that car accident, I found out I also had mold exposure. So I had extreme COVID-like symptoms and everything. And the craziest part of it is I was gonna go back on tour on Monday. I was gonna get back on the tour bus and go back out. In what sense does that make sense? It's I'm putting myself before everybody else, or I'm putting everybody else before myself in that situation,
Exactly.
and that's not healthy. So I think in this part of my career, knowing when to sit down and when it's okay to do that, because you're not missing anything when you're resting. Because if you say I didn't rest and something worse may have happened, I may not have been able to do anything for the rest of the year. So I think that's just one of my biggest learning curves in this current era, I'll say.
I hope you heal completely and very quickly. And I'm glad you like took that moment to give yourself some rest.
Thank you.
I love that you called that out too, because I think as artists, um, potentially there is like a mind and body disconnect because we're on grind mode. We're like, I got to get the next thing. If I don't get the next job, I don't know what's going to happen. Woo, right. And while I think it's important to be dedicated to your craft, it's
You shouldn't
incredibly
live out of survival mode.
right. Like creating out of survival mode isn't gonna like sustain you. Like
Mhm.
we create out of survival mode all the time. Artists have throughout history forever and always will. But like knowing how to get yourself out of survival mode, I think is like the goal, right? And knowing how and when to listen to yourself and be like, actually, I should say no to this and give myself a day, a week, XYZ to like come back to me is so, so important. And I'm so glad and proud of you that you did that for yourself because, like you said, something worse could have happened if you would have pushed yourself.
And that goes for like even outside of just like you can be in full health, living out of survival mode, taking gigs for less money than, what you say you want. That doesn't bring you gigs of status that you would want because everybody that's being referred from that gig that you just took for, let's say, $250, the people that's adjacent to them, sadly to say, are those same people. So let's say I want to start taking gigs that are $500. I want to take gigs that are $1,000. How
Mhm.
am I going to elevate and do that if I'm still settling for less? So
Right.
that's something that I just take in the overall.
Yeah, definitely know when to say no. Also, if you want to elevate, you want to go from getting 500 to 1K. That means you have to say no to the $500 gigs that are coming to you so that the 1K has the room. Because otherwise, your time gonna be taken up because you had the $500 gig.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Actually, before we completely wrap up, since you're literally on tour right now, I did want to go back to the touring question. And thinking
Okay.
about you're talking about basically our mental and physical spaces. What do photographers need to mentally and logistically prepare for going on tour?
The main thing that I do to mentally prepare for tour, one before tour. Well, this one I didn't get to. Prior to the accident, I hadn't been home in 3 weeks.
Mhm.
So I like to actually try to take that week off before staying, pack, do whatever I have to do just to be me before I go. Because once you're out, you're of service to somebody else, and that's the most honest answer. Your schedule isn't going to be your normal schedule. You may not go to sleep until 7 or 8 a.m. You may not go to sleep that day, but you may not have somewhere to sleep. Your bus may not have air conditioning, and all of these things can happen. And you have to be able to find your sanity in that, whether it's you praying, you meditating. I go and do yoga. I make sure I journal every day. Think of what you're grateful for. Those are the things that will make you keep the most amount of sanity. And all of the dancers are in the background shaking their heads in agreement because this
Hey.
is how life is going right now. But yeah.
That's so real. Does like the production team give you a limit, like you can only bring two suitcases, one gear,
Yes,
one,
Mm.
yes, yes. So
oh,
on our tour bus, it's 12 people. The merch for the tour is also on the bus. So the merch is the it takes precedence. It's the additional money that the artist is making that they will directly receive. So whatever space is left after that is how much is left. So I've had tours where you can bring 2 bags. On this tour, I could bring a bag and a duffel. Um, but you just have to pack accordingly. And sometimes, you're shopping and you just gotta go buy something as you go. We wash clothes. You have your off days. So it's just you have to be an adult in this for like experience. You're
yeah.
away from home, and there is nobody to tell you what to do, but you have to be as responsible as possible, or it's gonna drive you crazy.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
makes me think about just data and how we're keeping track of it.
Mhm.
So I think it'll be a good place to close off for everybody. Can y'all give advice on how y'all maintain your images at the end of the night? Do you do um like a load off before you leave the venues, before you leave a session? Like how are y'all operating and making sure y'all keeping backups and everything safe?
For me, it depends on which type of event I'm shooting, I'll say. So, like, I'll have my Live Nation events, uh, and we're shooting in real time. So I'll shoot the artists Sometimes it's first three songs. I go straight back to the office. I'll drop the photos. I'm editing the photos, dropping those photos on Dropbox, and then going back out and shooting. Sometimes it's a, or when I'm on tour, end of show. Immediately, I go back. I find my favorite 10 photos of the night so the artist can have their photos in the morning. We, and then I'll drop photos onto the hard drive. And then as I get back on the tour bus to go to the next city, overnight, I'm editing, and then they'll have everything by 8 a.m. That's how my source, yeah.
Alicia, how about you? How do you manage all of your files?
Mm. At the end of the night, I just drop everything into my hard drive, and then I sift through like which photos I'm gonna edit, and then like the next day I'll like edit and then send the pictures off.
Do you do the load off while you're at the venue or when you get
Oh,
home?
when I get home.
Okay, copy. And then Onome, how about you?
Yeah, I'm the same. So usually at the end of the night, at the end of a show, I come home, I go through my SD card, find my favorite photos, and then everything else, I have an external um, backup. So I move every photo I take, whether it's 5,000 photos or 2,000 photos, I move them all to my hard drive just for putting in cold storage. And yeah, then I just work off of the photos I choose and edit from there.
Yes, I don't delete photos. Don't delete photos, y'all. Keep your files. They're important. They're your money also. But this feels like such a good place to end, y'all. Thank you so, so much for coming, contributing, and dropping gems for everybody. We're so grateful. And we want to give one last thank you to Live Nation Urban for their continued support. Like I mentioned earlier, over these last few years, BWP and LNU have partnered to hire dozens of Black and African women creatives across the country. We do stuff like concerts and festivals and tours, which is why we wanted to bring this conversation here to y'all today and this weekend. So we'll be announcing some more exciting opportunities and things at the end of the month. So please stay tuned for that. And we'll see y'all tomorrow for day 2 of the Black Women Creatives Summit. Also, just want to say happy Juneteenth. I hope it was incredible and easeful and restful and the exact Juneteenth y'all wanted to have. And happy Black Music Month. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye.